Hey guys, Luke with Logical Lacrosse here, and today we're going to be going over what happened in the 2019 version of the Major League Lacrosse Draft. No, the MLL has not died yet. It has not disappeared forever. It's still there competing with the PLL, and as long as it's a pro lacrosse league, we're going to cover it, especially for the field lacrosse. So definitely some interesting storylines. MLL's been kind of the premier pro lacrosse league, which really isn't saying much. Not to hate on the MLL, but I'm definitely excited for this new premier lacrosse league. But kind of interesting to see. They got a competitor now, so they've really had to step up their game. So I'll be sure to get into that. But of course, this is the draft, so I want to give a hearty congratulations to all the guys that got drafted this night, because they work really hard, and to have all that hard work come to fruition and to really get rewarded for being drafted in one of the top lacrosse leagues it's really cool. So after saying all that, let's get into this. So first round, the draft was held in the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte to really grow the league around that area with the local communities. The Charlotte Hounds have a team there. But for the first round, we'll get into the picks, and picking at first was the Ohio Machine, and they took Alex Woodall out of Towson. If you don't know who he is, he's the Fogo for Towson. He's the best one in the country. So great job for him to be picked first. A little bit about Alex. He was He was part of the 2017 first team All Quality Athletic Association Conference, and he was also part of the 2017 CAA All-Tournament team. So some really good accolades for him. He's having another great year in 2019. So really cool for him. But second to pick was the Florida Lodge, and they took, who I have said before is the best goalie in the country, Tim Troutner Jr. from High Point. And yes, he's a goalie, as I just said. But he's really turned it on in 2019. He was part of the 2018 All-SoCon second team, but he really kind of shone out and got more people to notice him after he helped High Point win against Virginia and Duke earlier this year. Third in the draft picking were the Boston Cannons, and they took Zach Goodrich out of Towson, who's a D-Midi. So Towson, 2 for 3 in the top 3 picks. Really good job there. They got a deep roster. No wonder they're ranked number 1. But so Zach Goodrich, D-Midi out of Towson. He was part of the 2018 USILA First Team All-America listing, and he was also named the 2018 CAA Defensive Player of the Year. So really good resume. He also is really deadly on the face-off wings. A lot of teams are going to want to use him for that besides just defense. Picking fourth was again the Boston Cannons, and this time they took Austin Henningsen out of Maryland, and he is another Fogo. Really good player. He was part of the 2017 National Championship team, and he was also a member of the 2016 USA Under-19 squad where they won the World Championship. So just kind of a little extra background on Henningsen. Picking fifth was the Charlotte Hounds, the home team for this draft, and they took Ryan Conrad out of Virginia, and I saw him play against Syracuse. He was very good. So he's a midfielder, and a couple accolades for him. He was 2017 All-ACC team and the 2017 USILA third team All-American. And sixth, we got the Denver Outlaws, the defending champs. They take Max Tuttle out of Sacred Heart, a really good midfielder. He was the 2018 NEC Player of the Year, and he's also the first player in school history to earn an All-American accolade for Sacred Heart Lacrosse, so that's really cool. And seventh were the Chesapeake Bayhawks, and they finally pull the trigger on Pat Spencer out of Loyola. You guys all know who he is if you're watching the channel, but he's a attackman, and he leads the Patriot League in all-time points and assists. So definitely, I'll talk a little bit more about Spencer more in my takeaways. But definitely some interesting things about him falling to 7th, when a lot of people thought he'd be in the top 3 picks. But there's a lot of reasons for that, which we'll get into. But 8th, the Dallas Rattlers, the runner-up, they took Chris Savia out of Penn State. He's a D-pull. He's pretty good. his footwork could be a little off sometimes, but he's a really good pull. Definitely the best one Penn State has. And last year, 2018, he was part of the second team All Big Ten squad, so a really impressive accolade for him. And picking ninth were the Denver Outlaws, and they took Daniel Bucaro out of Georgetown. He's an attackman, and so far he has 39 points in the first 7 games of 2019, so he's really lighted up. He's a really good player, but that's the first round. We'll get into the second round now. With the Ohio Machine picking first again, they take Nick Spillane out of Penn State. He's a midfielder. And then the Launch pick again, and they take Sean Eccles out of Albany. He's a really good midfielder. Cannons taking third again, take Clarke Peterson, Cornell midfielder. Really good player. We saw him play against Penn State, where we already saw some of the players listed in the draft play against him. And they're playing Jacksonville on Sunday. And the Blaze finally take someone. They take Brendan Sunday out of Towson. He's a midfielder. He really lit up the Loyola defense. So Towson really dominated the draft early on. The Blaze pick 5th in the second round, and they take Dylan Gaines out of Denver, one of the best D-pulls in the country. I've seen him in person. I had to scout him. He is for real. If he decides to go with the Major League Lacrosse, then he's going to be a huge pickup for the Blaze. I mean, I know some other teams had more pressing needs than D-pulls, but, I mean, this guy easily could have been a top 5 pick, in my opinion. But 6th pick for round 2, the Ohio Machines take TJ Comazio out of Villanova. He's a midfielder, really good, played well against Yale. Then 7th pick for round 2, the Bayhawks with Greyson Torain out of Navy. He's a midfielder. I think every Service Academy had at least one guy get picked, which was really cool. But he's a hometown guy, so hopefully he'll be able to contribute with the Bayhawks. And he's got his military service. He's got to fulfill. So hopefully that doesn't interfere with him being able to play professionally, which is, I mean, that's really cool for him, especially out of Service Academy. He has to do a lot of extra work. But 8th in round 2 were the Rattlers, and they take Craig Chick. He is a D-pull out of Lehigh, really good. Lehigh's got a great defense. That defense is not the problem at Lehigh. So they're great for him. And then the Outlaws, 9th in round 2, take Chris Aslanian out of Hobart. He's an attackman. And if you watch some of my reviews, whenever I mention the Hobart games, he always has 7 to 9 goals a game. I mean, this guy's a monster. So I think that's a really good steal for the Outlaws. No one's really talking about him. But for round 3 now, Machine picked first, and they take Johnny Surdick out of Army, a D-pull. He'll really help with that defense. As you can tell, the Machine have picked a lot in this draft. They're really trying to rebuild. Then the Bayhawks pick next, taking Curtis Corley out of Maryland, another D-pull. And then the Cannons, 3rd in round 3, take Nick DiCaprio and an LSM out of Michigan. So round 3 really is the defensive round, because then 4th, the Rattlers take Isaac Paparo out of UMass, another D-pull, and then the Hounds 5th take Matt Neufeld out of Denver, and he's another D-pull. Shocked Dylan Johnson to get picked up. I thought he's better than the other 2 pulls for Denver, in my opinion, but that's just me. I mean, obviously I have no say in who they pick, but yeah, he's a very good D-pull. Just found out he's out for the year, though, with an injury to stay in practice, but that's not the draft, but just a little tidbit for you guys. But 6th in round 3, the Wizards take Jack Ty out of Yale. He's a midfielder, so he's the first non-defensive player picked. He's a really good player, really helped Yale last year. 7th in round 3, the Bayhawks take Noah Richard, an LSM out of Marquette. Then 8th, Colton Jackson out of Denver, a midfielder for the Blaze. And I think this was a steal for the Blaze. Colton Jackson's very good. Denver's got a lot of really good pro-ready players, whether they go MLL or PLL. Then 9th, the Cannons take Ryland Rees out of Stony Brook at LSM. So, as I said, round 3 is really the defensive round. But 4th round, we're kind of getting some of the more sleeper picks now. Maybe guys you don't know about as much. But Chris Young for the Machine goes first in round 4 out of High Point. He's an attackman. Then 2nd, the Launch. Follow that up by taking Tyler Dunn out of Penn. He's a midfielder, really good. Then the Cans take Brent Noseworthy out of Michigan, who I had to scout at Air Force. He's a very good player, very solid at both ends of the field. So a very good pick for the Cannons. Alright, sorry guys for the cut. I realized I did not write down the team name for who drafted Teddy Hatfield out of Richmond, 4th in round 4, and that's the Dallas Rattlers. So that's a good steal. I had to scout Hatfield at Richmond as well, or cut tape on him, and he's a very good attacker. He can really do it all. Very versatile. But then 5th, we got the Charlotte Hounds, again the hometown draft team, taking Austin Fusco out of Syracuse at D-Pole. Some Syracuse guys kind of start to get taken now later in the draft. Then the Wizards draft John Danigelis out of Yale, another midfielder out of Yale. I think that's, 2 midfielders for Yale that were picked. And then the Cannons go again, taking Tyson Bomberry out of Syracuse, another D-Pole. Then the Rattlers draft again, taking Jack Jasinski out of Ohio State, midfield. He's a very good player. Then the Outlaws take Brandon Jones out of Air Force. He's a D-Pole. I worked at Air Force last year, so that's really cool to see an Air Force guy go. And, he's a hometown guy. I think he'll do well for the Outlaws. I think he has a chance to play. I see him in person a couple times this year, and, I've seen a lot of good teams play. I think he could play at basically any school in the country, Division I-wise. So I think he can really translate well for the Outlaws, especially with all the PLL guys that left all these good MLL teams. There's definitely an opportunity for him to come in and play. But 5th round now, we're getting really late in the draft. The Machine taking Matt Borges to kick it off out of Ohio State, a D-Pole. Then the Launch taking Joey Sessa out of Yale, another D-Pole. And then a couple D2 guys. 3rd, the Blaze take Brett Craig out of Seton Hall. He's a D-Pole. Then the Launch take Andrew Q out of Tampa, an attackman. Then the Blaze, again, but this time taking Tyson Gibson out of Robert Morris. He's a midfielder, very good player. Then the Lizards take Connor Farrell out of Long Island University Post. I was going to say LIU. And he's a face-off guy looking for the next Max Adler, I believe, there. Then the Bayhawks take Austin French out of Denver, an attackman. He's a very good player. Kind of shocked he went this low in the draft. Then the Rattlers take Joe Segezi out of Sacred Heart. He's an attackman. He's a very good player. That's definitely a sneaky pick. Good pick for the Rattlers. And then the Outlaws finish off the round by taking Kyle Marr out of Hopkins, and he's an attackman. Very good player. Definitely a good pick later on in the draft. So 6th round, Machine kick it off again. As you guys have probably guessed, they take Sam Cleveland out of Colgate. He's an attackman. The Launch follow that up by taking Eric Applegate out of Jacksonville. He's an attackman. Rattlers then take Lucas Winberg out of Georgetown. He's a midfielder, so a couple Georgetown guys got picked up. Blaze then take Eddie Buhal out of Lehigh, another Lehigh defenseman. Then the Hounds take Brendan Gleason out of Notre Dame. I think that was the only Notre Dame player, so not dominated by the ACC, the draft was this year, which is kind of neat. Nothing against the ACC guys, but it's great to see such diversity because, so many teams have such good players now. But 6th in round 6, the Lizards take Danny Dolan, the goalie out of Maryland. Really good pick, late pick. Bayhawks then take Warren Jeffrey out of Vermont, a D-Pole. He's a really good player on a team that's not very good this year. Then the Rattlers take Fleet Wallace out of Cornell. He's a D-Pole. He'll be playing Towson on Sunday. That's a big game. I think Towson takes it. You can quote me on that. Cornell will definitely struggle against Penn State. Then to finish off this round, the Outlaws take Jack Roulette out of North Carolina. He's an LSM. And then the final round, round 7. My voice is killing me for naming off all these names. But this time, the Cannons take the first pick of round 7 with James Burr out of Boston. He's an attackman. Shocked his buddy Chris Gray didn't get picked up. But obviously not everyone can get signed or drafted. And, that's great for him. The Boston guy, Boston, a new program. Pretty cool to see a guy from there get drafted. And then the Launch take Reed Malas, a midfielder out of Bucknell. Lizards that take Decker Curran, a Michigan midfielder. Then Blaze take Jake McCullough out of Cornell. He's a midfielder, so another guy in town because of that Crown Lacrosse Classic. That's also in Charlotte. Then Machine pick 5th, taking Alex Hager out of Robert Morris, the goaltender. Good late final pick for them. Then the Lizards take Brendan Kierans out of Providence and attacking. Kierans is very good. saw him play a couple times this year, and he's very impressive. I think he'll have a chance to push for immediate playing time as a late pick. Then the Bayhawks take John Prendergast out of Duke, a midfielder. Admittedly, I don't know too much about Prendergast, but he must be pretty good. Duke didn't have a lot of draft picks. I'm shocked Cade Van Raphorsing draft, actually, now that I think about it. He covered Pat Spencer in the Loyola Duke game, and he kicked his butt. That's kind of a snub, honestly. I hope he gets signed somewhere and makes it at least as a practice squad, because he could play in the next level. Or maybe the PLL takes him. Maybe that's kind of what he's worried about. But 8th, the Rattlers take Landon Kramer out of Sacred Heart, a midfielder. And then to finish it all off, the Outlaws take Kyle Pless with the final pick out of Rutgers, and he's a D/LSM guy. So, a lot of names we don't all know. Maybe not as a star-studded draft class as some past ones, but definitely some interesting takeaways, which I'm going to go into now. So, my takeaways for the 2019 Major League Lacrosse Draft is, first, a lot of specialists taken early. That means, face-off guys, goalies, really, Alex Woodall taken first by the Ohio Machine, which is a great pick. I think a reason for so many specialists being taken early is partly due to the the PLL taking all of the MLL's really best players, and, the PLL has to get their face-off guys from somewhere. Well, the best ones are all in the MLL, and they're all going to go to the PLL, which is, what you see with the PLL rosters. So a lot of those guys, they need to find a really good Fogo so they can look to the draft or a goaltender. Those guys are in limited supply at that elite level. So I think that really contributed to a lot of those guys getting picked early. Also, not a very attackman-heavy class, so you didn't see a lot of attackmen taken early. Include Spencer, is the earliest, but not picked too high. And that's what I was going to get to. Picked 7th, Chesapeake Bayhawk. He's around the area of Annapolis, so it makes sense for Chesapeake to take him. And I saw people commenting this, wondering why he was taken so late. And one is he wants to play college basketball next year, so it's looking like he entered his name into the college basketball transfer portal after he finishes this last year. So he wants to be a grad transfer for basketball. So it doesn't even look like he's going to play pro lacrosse this year, which is probably a reason a lot of guys didn't want to take him, because, why do you want to draft a guy with such an early pick when you won't even get him this next year? And 2, a lot of guys are definitely worried that he will just go to the PLL or he'll make more money and get TV exposure and such. So I think that really happened with a lot of these guys, maybe picked later because teams were thinking they don't want to blow a high draft pick on a guy that can possibly go to the PLL and make more money. Or like Spencer, he wants to play college basketball next year, so why waste a high draft pick on a guy that's going to be gone for this season? He won't even be on your team. But another one is 3 Division II players were drafted out of Tampa, LIU Post, and Seton Hall. So that's cool to see some D2 guys getting picked up in the middle of the draft. And I think we're going to see more of this in the upcoming years if the MLL continues to stay open. I mean, it's not looking good for the MLL right now, but, a lot of more D2 guys I think are going to find their way into the cracks on the roster, so that's just something to look out for. But great to see some Division II guys get represented. That's a good Division II get some hate, but Division II teams are very good. We'll see Merrimack and LIU go up to D1 next year. I think they're going to do really well. So, D2 guys are really good, just like D3 or MCLA or NAIA or PNCLL or high school or whatever. There's all good players at every level. But final thing I want to say and explain to you guys, a lot of people were wondering about this, MLL and PLL, like, what do you do if you're drafted by the MLL? Do you have to play with the MLL? Can you still get drafted by the PLL? From my understanding, from what I've seen and looked into it, is, so say I'm in the draft, I could get drafted in the MLL draft, and I could get drafted in the PLL draft, and there's no obligation for me to announce who I'm going to go with until my eligibility in the NCAA's expired. Then I would have to kind of officially pick and get locked in with that team. So say I'm Pat Spencer, the Bayhawks took me, and then the Whip Snakes for the PLL also draft me. I don't have to pick or officially sign until my NCAA eligibility is expired. At least that's to my understanding. It's kind of weird because there's 2 pro leagues this year, and the PLL draft comes up in April. But that's kind of my takeaway for that. But yeah, those are my takeaways. So definitely some good things in this draft, some interesting things that we'll have to keep an eye on looking forward. But I hope I kind of gave you guys kind of the answers on the MLL PL draft thing and why Pat Spencer was drafted kind of a little later than some people expected. So guys, that'll do it for our review on the 2019 Major League Lacrosse draft. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'd really appreciate it if you guys leave a like and subscribe. If I sound a little stuffy or maybe a little less enthused, it's not because I'm completely out on the MLL, even though I'm totally hyped for the PLL. I got some gear from them, like the merchandise. But I'm a little sick right now, so if I see a little down or whatever, that is why. It's not because I'm not excited or not into doing this. But again, if you guys could leave a like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it, as it really helps me grow up the channel. Also, feel free to check out my social media pages at Instagram and Twitter at the same username, logical_lacrosse. And I also have a website where we're going to be posting more stuff like this at www.logicallacrosse.com. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this useful. And as always, have a great rest of your day.